Welcome to my Chanel Most Worth Coins WC Today videos is one you won't to miss. We're diving into the world of top 5 Elizabeth halfpence, 1 pence and 2 pence coins, so let's get it started. The 1958 New Zealand 1 penny coin is a fascinating numismatic artifact that captures the story of a young monarch, a distant dominion, and a unique cultural blend. As a piece of history, this coin not only served as everyday currency but also carried symbolic weight during a period of change, modernization, and identity formation within New Zealand and the wider British Commonwealth. This particular penny features the second monarch to appear on New Zealand's decimal coinage, Queen Elizabeth II, who ascended to the throne in 1952 following the death of her father, King George VI. The 1958 issue represents just the second year the Queen's effigy appeared on the country's coinage, the first being 1953. Thus, the 1958 penny holds a special place as one of the earlier portrayals of a young Queen Elizabeth II, a figure who would come to define the British monarchy for generations. Design and appearance. Struck in bronze, the coin has a weight of 9.45 grams, a diameter of 30.8 millimeters, and features a plain edge. It was produced at the Royal Mint in London, which handled much of New Zealand's coinage production during this era. The obverse of the coin features the youthful profile of Queen Elizabeth II facing right. The portrait used is the Mary Gillick effigy, which was widely employed across Commonwealth coinage in the 1950s and early 60s. This portrayal is admired for its classical style and the simplicity of its design, reflecting a sense of grace and modern monarchy. Around the Queen's portrait is the Latin inscription, Plus Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina Plus. This translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, emphasizing both her divine right to rule and her position within the Christian-based traditions of monarchy. On the reverse is one of New Zealand's most iconic coin designs, the Piwaka Waka, or New Zealand fantail bird, perched on a branch. The intricate detailing of the bird and surrounding flora reflects the country's rich biodiversity and indigenous culture. The word New Zealand arches above the image, while the denomination 1 penny is found below. The date 1958 is centered at the bottom, completing the harmonious and symmetrical design. The reverse was designed by Leonard Cornwall Mitchell, a prominent New Zealand artist and designer, whose work on this coin remains celebrated for its local symbolism and aesthetic quality. Historical context. The issuance of the 1958 penny came at a time when New Zealand was solidifying its identity within the British Commonwealth. Though still a constitutional monarchy under the British Crown, New Zealand was increasingly asserting its own national culture, particularly in the wake of World War II. The adoption of native imagery on currency, like the fantail bird, was part of this growing sense of nationalism. Economically, New Zealand in the late 1950s was a prosperous, agriculturally based society. Its economy revolved around wool, meat, and dairy exports, particularly to the United Kingdom. The coinage in circulation, shillings, florins, pennies, and halfpennies, reflected a British-influenced monetary system, which would only give way to decimalization in 1967. Mintage and rarity. In 1958, approximately 4,800,000 1-penny coins were minted for circulation, making it one of the moderately issued years for this denomination. While not considered extremely rare, coins from this year can still hold value among collectors, particularly in uncirculated or proof condition. Circulated examples are common, but coins that retain original luster, sharp detailing, and minimal wear are prized. The bronze composition, 97% copper, with tin and zinc, means the coins often show signs of aging through toning or verdigris. However, coins that have been well preserved can display a rich, chocolate brown or even red-toned patina, which enhances their visual appeal. Collector appeal. For collectors, the 1958 New Zealand penny holds appeal for several reasons. Firstly, it belongs to the early Elizabeth II series, marking the beginning of a new royal era in numismatics. Secondly, the coin's reverse is one of the most beloved designs in New Zealand's coinage history. The depiction of native fauna ties the piece closely to the land and its heritage, making it a sought-after item for both local and international collectors. Furthermore, the series offers a tangible way to trace the evolution of New Zealand's coinage, from British monarchs to homegrown design elements. For collectors building type sets or year sets of New Zealand currency, the 1958 penny is a must-have. Grading and market value. Values for the 1958 penny vary based on condition. Circulated coins are typically worth between 50 cents and $2 NZD, depending on wear. Uncirculated coins can range from $10 to $30 or more. Red uncirculated specimens, those that retain the original mint red luster, are especially valuable. As always, coins graded and certified by reputable services such as PCGS or NGC can command higher prices on the market due to guaranteed authenticity and grade assurance. Cultural significance and legacy. Though withdrawn from circulation with the arrival of decimal currency in 1967, the 1 penny coin remains a cherished part of New Zealand's numismatic and cultural heritage. The 1958 issue, in particular, stands as a symbol of a young queen's reign, a nation finding its voice, and the beauty of local design celebrated on a global stage. For many New Zealanders, these coins are more than currency. They are nostalgic relics of childhood, of pocket change, of a time when the country's ties to the crown were stronger and more direct. Today, they are often found in collections, antique stores, and family keepsake boxes, still carrying the stories of the past. In summary, the 1958 New Zealand 1 penny is more than a coin. It's a historical artifact, a miniature canvas of national identity, and a tribute to both monarchy and native wildlife. Whether you're a collector, a historian, or simply someone with an appreciation for beautiful design, this coin offers a rich and enduring legacy worth exploring. The 1945 British half penny, bearing the Latin inscription Georgiev's 6DG, BR, OMN, Rex F laughing smiley ANDIMP, is a fascinating window into mid-20th century Britain, both numismatically and historically. This coin was minted during the reign of King George VI, who served as monarch from 1936 until his death in 1952. His reign encompassed the tumultuous period of World War II and the beginnings of the post-war recovery, making coins from this era especially significant in understanding the shifting dynamics of the British Empire and its people. Obverse design, the King and the Empire. The obverse, front, of the coin features a left-facing bust of King George VI, modelled by Thomas Humphrey Paget, one of the Royal Mint's most notable engravers. Unlike the crowned portrait styles of some previous monarchs, George VI is depicted bareheaded, a symbolic choice that conveyed humility and a sense of accessibility during a time of national hardship and war. Encircling the portrait is the Latin legend, Georgiev's 6DG, BR, OMN Rex F laughing smiley IND imp. This stands for Georgia's 6 Dei Gratia Britanniarum Omnium Rex, Fide Defensa, Indii Imperata. Translated, this means, George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, defender of the faith, Emperor of India. It reflects not only his divine right to rule and his role as head of the Church of England, but also Britain's status at the time as an imperial superpower. The use of IND-IMP, Indii Imperata, Emperor of India, would only remain until 1948, as India gained independence in 1947. Therefore, the 1945 coin captures one of the last years this title was used on British coinage. The maritime symbolism of Britannia. The reverse of the 1945 half penny features the image of Britannia, a Roman-inspired national figure who had been a staple of British coins since the reign of Charles II in the 17th century. The design used during George VI's reign shows Britannia seated facing right, clad in a classical helmet and robes. She holds a trident in one hand, symbolizing naval power, and rests the other on a shield bearing the Union flag. Beneath Britannia is the date, 1945, and around the outer edge is the denomination. Halfpenny. This reverse design had been used with slight modifications for over 100 years and connected the coin to Britain's seafaring legacy and imperial might. The sea lines behind Britannia subtly reinforced the Royal Navy's importance, especially during the war years when maritime control was key to survival and victory. Composition: bronze, typically 95.5% copper, 3% tin, and 1.5% zinc. Diameter: 25.5 millimeters. Weight: 5.67 grams. Edge: plain. Shape: circular. Minted: Royal Mint, London. The 1945 halfpenny is solid and durable, designed for heavy circulation during a time when coinage needed to withstand harsh economic and wartime conditions. The bronze alloy gives it a rich reddish-brown color when uncirculated, though circulated examples tend to tone dark brown or even nearly black. In 1945, the Royal Mint struck approximately 49,130,400 halfpennies for circulation, a relatively high mintage, reflecting both the scale of wartime economics and the need to keep commerce flowing. The coin would have been used daily by millions of Britons to purchase food, newspapers, or transport, and thus it became a familiar sight in the pockets of both soldiers and civilians alike. The year 1945 was monumental for Britain. It marked the end of World War II in Europe and the Pacific. Britain, though victorious, was financially and physically exhausted from 6 years of war. Rationing continued, cities were rebuilding from bomb damage, and the political climate was shifting rapidly. That same year, Winston Churchill was voted out of office, and Clement Attlee became Prime Minister, initiating major post-war reforms, including the development of the National Health Service, NHS, and the welfare state. On the imperial front, Britain's global grip was loosening. The end of World War II also marked the beginning of decolonization, with India gaining independence just 2 years later. Thus, coins like this 1945 half-penny stand at the historical junction between empire and commonwealth, war and peace, austerity and rebuilding. Because of its large mintage and wide circulation, the 1945 half-penny is not rare, but it holds considerable historical interest. The value depends largely on its condition. Heavily circulated, typically worth 5 pence to 15 pence. Fine to very fine, can reach 30 pence to 50 pence. Extremely fine, EF worth £1 to £2. Uncirculated, UNC may fetch £4 to £6 or more, especially with original luster. Coins in original mint condition or part of proof sets are more valuable, especially when housed in protective packaging or as part of a wartime collection. More than just a means of trade, the 1945 half-penny is a story in metal. It reflects a monarch who never expected to rule but did so with dignity through a time of crisis. It carries the imperial pride of a global empire at its peak, and just on the cusp of contraction. It passed through the hands of evacuees, factory workers, soldiers, and nurses. It helped buy daily bread in bomb-scarred cities and perhaps a newspaper reporting VE Day celebrations. Collectors and historians alike prize coins like the 1945 half-penny not merely for their metallic composition, but for their intangible weight, the events they witnessed, the values they symbolized, and the hands they passed through. The Georgiev 6D GBR, OMN, Rex F laughing smiley IND, IMP half-penny 1945 is more than a copper alloy disc. It is a time capsule of Britain's struggle, strength, and transformation during one of the most important years in modern history. Whether as part of a collection or a conversation piece, it invites reflection on an era of resilience, sacrifice, and enduring legacy. The 1962 British one-penny coin, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a representative piece of the United Kingdom's rich numismatic and monetary history during the pre-decimal era. Issued just a little over a decade into Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the coin offers collectors a view into a time when the UK was still using the old pound-esty system, pounds, shillings, and pence, which had existed for centuries before decimalization in 1971. The obverse, front, of the coin features the first official coinage portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who had ascended the throne in 1952 after the death of her father, King George VI. The effigy was designed by Mary Gillick, a talented British sculptor. This portrait is distinctive for its elegance and simplicity. Elizabeth is shown facing right, wearing a laurel wreath rather than a crown, emphasizing her youth and vitality as the new monarch. Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F laughing smiley, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The F laughing smiley stands for Fide Defensor, a title originally given to Henry VIII by the Pope and retained by English and later British monarchs ever since. The reverse of the coin bears the iconic and long-standing image of Britannia, a female warrior figure who has symbolized the spirit and strength of Britain for centuries. She is shown seated facing right, wearing a crested Corinthian helmet and holding a trident in her left hand, while her right hand rests on a shield adorned with the Union flag. On either side of Britannia is the denomination inscription, 1 penny, and below her, the year of mintage, 1962. This reverse design had been in use, with minor variations, since 1895 and remained essentially unchanged until the end of the pre-decimal penny in 1970. The design used in 1962 was crafted by Leonard Charles Wyon, a prominent Royal Mint engraver. Composition and physical details. Metal, bronze, 95.5% copper, 3% tin, 1.5% zinc. Weight, 9.4 grams. Diameter, 30.8 millimeters. Edge, plain, smooth, without milling. The coin is large and heavy by modern standards, with a rich reddish-brown appearance in mint condition that darkens with age and circulation. The Royal Mint produced a substantial number of 1,962 one-penny coins. 143,308,600 pieces were struck that year. Because of this high mintage and the durability of bronze, many examples of the 1962 penny remain in circulation or in collections today. The coin was commonly used across the UK for low-value purchases, especially sweets, newspapers, or bus fares, and was a familiar part of everyday life. In 1962, the United Kingdom was still several years away from the decimalisation of its currency, which took place in 1971. The old system of 240 pence to a pound, 12 pence to a shilling, 20 shillings to a pound, was still in full operation, and the penny, though increasingly small in real-world purchasing power, remained important to commerce. This coin captures a unique time in British society, which was transitioning from post-war austerity to modernity. The 1960s were a dynamic decade, with social and cultural revolutions, yet the coinage still bore very traditional designs and retained a sense of imperial continuity. The 1962 penny is not rare in circulated grades because of its high mintage, but it remains popular among collectors due to its historical charm and iconic design. Its value depends largely on its condition. Circulated, most examples are worth very little, often around 5 pence to 20 pence. Extremely fine, EF can fetch 50 pence to £1. Uncirculated, UNC bright, lustrous examples may reach £1 and 50 pence or more. Brilliant uncirculated, BU, or proof-like versions in original mint sets may be valued higher, especially among those collecting full-date runs or showcasing early Elizabeth II coins. The 1962 Elizabeth II one-penny coin is a fascinating piece of numismatic history, reflecting a moment of continuity between Britain's long-standing traditions and a modernizing society. Its design, composition, and symbolism speak to the resilience and adaptability of British currency. Though not rare, it remains a staple for collectors of British coins, particularly those interested in Queen Elizabeth II's early reign and the twilight of the pre-decimal currency system. The 1998 2-pence coin from the bailiwick of Jersey, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a striking example of the continued British numismatic tradition in the Crown dependencies. While similar in size, metal, and general appearance to the UK's standard 2p coin, the Jersey issue carries its own unique designs, history, and cultural significance that reflect the identity of the island itself. Issued by the bailiwick of Jersey, one of the Channel Islands located in the English Channel near the coast of Normandy, France, this coin is part of a series of decimal coinage first introduced to Jersey in 1971. Though Jersey is a British Crown dependency and under the sovereignty of the British Crown, it has its own government and monetary authority, which allows it to issue its own currency, usually pegged 1-to-1 with UK sterling. These coins circulate within Jersey but are also collected internationally. The 1998 2p coin maintains the same dimensions and value as its UK counterpart, allowing it to function seamlessly within the island's monetary system while also showcasing its regional identity. The obverse of the coin features the crowned effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Macluf, a sculptor known for producing the third definitive coinage portrait of the Queen used in many Commonwealth nations from 1985 to 1997 and 1998. In this portrait, the Queen is shown facing right, wearing the George IV state diadem, a crown set with diamonds, pearls, crosses, and floral emblems, including roses, shamrocks, and thistles representing different parts of the UK. Around the effigy is the inscription, Queen Elizabeth II. This obverse design was widely used across various territories that recognized Elizabeth II as head of state, giving the coin a formal and regal presence. Although the UK moved on to a new effigy in 1998, some of the territories like Jersey continued to use the Macluf portrait for a while longer. The reverse of the 1998 bailiwick of Jersey 2p coin is where the uniqueness of the island's culture truly comes through. At the center is an intricately detailed image of a historic thatched granite building, which is the La Hougue B, one of the oldest and most significant archaeological and historical sites in Jersey. This Neolithic site dates back to around 3500 BCE and consists of a passage grave, later crowned by a medieval chapel, symbolizing layers of history and culture stacked through time. Above this depiction is the inscription, Bailiwick of Jersey, and below it is the coin's denomination, 2 pence. The artistry of the design is rich in fine architectural details, giving collectors a sense of Jersey's cultural and archaeological heritage. The use of local imagery reinforces the identity of the island while still aligning with the broader British coinage tradition. Metal composition, copper-plated steel, post-1992 UK and Jersey 2p coins adopted steel cores due to rising copper prices. Diameter, 25.9 millimeters. Weight, 7.12 grams. Edge, plain, smooth. Color, bright reddish-brown in mint condition, dulling over time to dark brown or nearly black when heavily circulated. Exact mintage figures for Jersey decimal coins are not always published in great detail, but coins like the 1998 2p were generally produced for both circulation and collector purposes. Jersey has a small population, just over 100,000, so the number of circulating coins is naturally limited, making them relatively uncommon outside the island. Despite being legal tender only in Jersey, these coins are often found in collections across the UK and Commonwealth due to their attractive designs and regional rarity. The 1998 bailiwick of Jersey 2p coin is generally not considered rare, but it holds appeal for world coin collectors, British regional collectors, and those interested in Queen Elizabeth II coinage. The value varies based on condition. Circulated condition, typically worth face value to 20p. Uncirculated, UNC around 50p to £1 depending on quality. Brilliant uncirculated or proof set examples. If issued in mint sets, values may rise to £2 or more. The coin becomes more desirable when included in a full date set or type set of Jersey decimal issues. Coins in excellent condition, particularly those with high luster and no tarnishing, are more valuable and sought after. What makes the 1998 bailiwick of Jersey 2p coin special isn't its monetary value, but its cultural narrative. It blends British monarchy symbolism with Jersey's unique heritage, showcasing the island's independent governance under the Crown and its long-standing cultural traditions. The inclusion of La Hougue B on the reverse reminds us that Jersey is more than a political territory. It is a living museum of prehistoric Europe, where people have lived, worshipped, and built communities for over 6,000 years. This design choice highlights how even small denomination coins can carry powerful stories and historical depth. The 1998 Queen Elizabeth II bailiwick of Jersey 2p coin is a beautiful fusion of monarchic representation and local pride. It is a token of the island's semi-autonomous status and its role in the wider Commonwealth family. While it may not carry significant face value, its numismatic charm and the story it tells make it a favorite among collectors interested in coins from British territories, regional history, or Queen Elizabeth II's long reign. Whether added to a themed collection or appreciated as a single piece, this coin captures a small but meaningful chapter in the history of Britain's relationship with its crown dependencies and their continued commitment to showcasing local heritage through currency.